Welcome, tennis fans from all around the globe, to what has undeniably become one of the most electrifying, emotionally charged, and narrative-rich weeks in recent memory on the WTA Tour. We are broadcasting right into the heart of the 2026 Miami Open, a tournament that has absolutely delivered on every single promise of drama, passion, and high-stakes athletic theater. The headline that is sending absolute shockwaves across the internet, dominating social media trends, and having the whole world celebrating is a story of incredible sportsmanship, a crushing defeat, and the ultimate, spectacular revenge. Alexandra Ela collided with Karolina Muchova, and just when the hopes of millions of passionate fans seemed dashed, Coco Gauff stepped onto the stadium court and delivered a masterclass. Coco Gauff has struck back. Coco Gauff has served vengeance. Coco Gauff is in the finals. To truly understand the magnitude of this moment, we have to rewind and set the stage. The Miami Open, the crown jewel of the Sunshine Double, is not just a tennis tournament. It is a grueling, unforgiving gauntlet played under the blistering Florida sun, testing the physical limits and the mental fortitude of the greatest athletes on the planet. This year, the narrative was undeniably centered around the meteoric rise of the Philippines' very own 20-year-old prodigy, Alexandra Ela. She arrived in Miami riding a wave of unprecedented momentum, breaking into the top 30 of the WTA rankings, and carrying the hopes of a fiercely loyal, incredibly passionate fan base known as Team Quiet, a global community of Filipinos and tennis purists who stay up at all hours of the night just to witness her journey. Ela's campaign was nothing short of magical initially, securing gritty, hard-fought victories over seasoned veterans like Loris Siegmund and Magda Linette. She was displaying a level of maturity, shot tolerance, and baseline aggression that had commentators and legends of the sport nodding in deep respect. But the draw at a WTA 1000 event is completely merciless. Waiting for Ela in a round of 16 was none other than the 13th seed, the brilliant, tactically astute, and incredibly versatile Czech star, Karolina Muchova. Muchova, the 2023 French Open finalist, is a player who possesses a tennis IQ that is simply off the charts. She doesn't just hit the ball. She plays the geometry of the court like a grandmaster playing chess. And when they met on the grandstand court, the reality of top-tier tennis set in with brutal clarity. Muchova orchestrated a flawless, dominant performance, systematically breaking down Ela's defenses to secure a 60-minute 6-0, 6-2 victory. It was a harsh, sobering lesson for the young Filipina. She struggled immensely on her serve, winning a shockingly low number of points behind her delivery in a first set that vanished in a mere 22 minutes. The entire tennis world felt a collective sigh of disappointment from Ela's supporters, acknowledging the immense talent of the youngster, but realizing that there are still formidable mountains to climb, specific areas of her game, notably the first and second serve, that require significant, dramatic improvement if she is to consistently challenge the absolute elite. Yet, the beauty of the tennis tour is that the story never truly ends. It simply shifts to a new protagonist. Enter Coco Gauff, the American superstar, the world number 4, a player who has grown up under the brightest of spotlights and who carries the expectations of American tennis on her immensely capable shoulders. Gauff, a Florida native, was playing in her backyard. She had endured a grueling tournament herself, fighting through intense 3-set battles in her first 4 matches. She was exhausted. She had battled arm issues earlier in the month at Indian Wells, and she even admitted to experiencing moments of doubt, almost withdrawing from Miami altogether. But champions are defined by how they respond to adversity. When the draw aligned to put Coco Gauff face-to-face with Karolina Muchova in the semifinals, the atmosphere became electric. The narrative practically wrote itself. This was the match where Gauff could avenge the crushing defeat of her younger contemporary, Ela. And did she ever deliver? Stepping onto the court, Gauff transformed into a relentless force of nature. She played with a level of clarity, aggression, and tactical precision that was absolutely terrifying to witness. In just 89 minutes, Gauff dismantled the very player who had looked so untouchable against Ela. A devastating 6-1, 6-1 victory. It was a complete and total unraveling of Karolina Muchova, orchestrated by the sheer brilliance of Coco Gauff. She broke the Czech serve 6 times. She saved 7 of the 8 break points she faced. She turned Muchova's usually reliable forehand into a glaring liability, forcing 26 unforced errors off that wing alone. It was a statement victory. It was a declaration that Coco Gauff is not just here to compete. She is here to conquer. And the crowd, the millions watching at home, erupted. It felt like a collective retaliation, a room's back, a striking back for the new generation. The whole world is celebrating because we just witnessed a generational talent assert her absolute dominance, securing her place in her first-ever Miami Open final and maintaining a flawless 6-0 undefeated record against one of the trickiest players on the tour. Now, let's transition into the deep dive analysis, because looking at the raw scores alone simply does not do justice to the complex tactical warfare that unfolded over these two incredibly defining matches. We have to meticulously dissect how Muchova managed to completely neutralize Alexandra Ela, and then inversely, how Coco Gauff managed to absolutely obliterate Karolina Muchova. Let us begin with a round of 16 clash between Muchova and Ela. The scoreline 6-0, 6-2 is jarring, but what actually happened between the lines? The critical factor here was the serve. Brad Gilbert, the legendary coach who has mentored icons like Andre Agassi and Coco Gauff herself, took to social media to highlight this exact vulnerability. For a player of Ela's height and possessing the natural advantage of being a left-hander, her serve is currently a significant liability against top 15 opposition. Muchova instantly recognized this weakness and pounced on it with absolute ruthlessness. In the first set, Ela won an abysmally low 4 points on her serve. Muchova stepped inside the baseline on the returns, taking the ball early, rushing Ela, and completely robbing her the time she needs to set up her powerful, heavy topspin ground strokes. Muchova used her slice to keep the ball low, completely disrupting Ela's strike zone. Ela likes the ball at waist-to-shoulder height, where she can tee off, but Muchova's backhand slice forced Ela to bend, lift, and generate her own pace, which resulted in a flurry of unforced errors. Muchova's variety was simply too much for the 20-year-old to process in real time. It was a masterclass in exploiting a singular weakness, the serve, to break down an opponent's entire game plan. Ela is a phenomenal talent. Her baseline game is incredibly sound, her movement is fantastic, and her defensive skills are top-notch. But at the pinnacle of the sport, against players who have contested Grand Slam finals, a weak second serve is blood in the water. Muchova attacked it, broke Ela's confidence early, and never allowed her to establish a rhythm. It took until the 11th game of the match for Ela to even get on the scoreboard. That is the brutal reality of elite professional tennis. However, the narrative completely flipped when Muchova stepped onto the court against Coco Gauff in the semifinals. Why did the player who looked like a tactical genius against Ela suddenly look completely lost and overwhelmed against Gauff? The answer lies in the matchup dynamics and the sheer athletic superiority of the American. Going into the semifinal, Coco Gauff had a psychological stranglehold on Karolina Muchova. A 5-0 head-to-head record is not just a statistic. It is a heavy, suffocating mental blanket that a player carries onto the court. Gauff knew exactly what she needed to do. While Muchova could rush Ela's serve, she absolutely could not do the same to Gauff. Gauff's first serve is a massive weapon, frequently clocking in the high 120s. It dictates the point from the very first strike. More importantly, Gauff's movement is arguably the best on the entire WTA Tour. The variety and the slices that Muchova used so effectively to disrupt Ela simply did not bother Gauff. Gauff has the foot speed to run down every drop shot, the wingspan to retrieve every angle, and the strength to absorb Muchova's pace and redirect it with interest. Let us look at the specific tactics Gauff employed. After dropping the opening game, Gauff went on an absolute tear, winning the next 10 consecutive games. How? By relentlessly targeting Muchova's forehand. While Muchova has a beautiful, flowing game, her forehand can break down under sustained, heavy pressure. Gauff hit deep, heavy, looping balls to the Muchova forehand side, pinning her back and forcing her to generate pace from awkward positions. The result? 26 unforced errors from Muchova forehand alone. Gauff was incredibly disciplined. She did not overplay. She hit 17 winners to 12 unforced errors, a remarkably clean stat sheet. Furthermore, Gauff's return game was devastating. Muchova relies heavily on her serve and volley tactics and her ability to hit spots, But Gauff's length and anticipation allowed her to neutralize the Muchova's serve completely. Muchova won only 51% of her first serve points, a catastrophic number against a returner of Gauff's caliber. Gauff broke her 6 times. When you are broken 6 times in a 2-set match, you are not just losing, you are being systematically dismantled. It is also crucial to discuss Coco Gauff's mental state heading into this match. Remember, Gauff came into Miami with serious doubts. She retired in Indian Wells just weeks prior with a left arm injury. She considered skipping Miami entirely. She was dealing with the immense pressure of playing at home, the lingering doubt of an injury, and fatigue of 4 consecutive grueling 3-set matches leading up to the semifinal. Yet, she articulated a profound maturity in her post-match press conference. She spoke about finding her joy, her groove, surrounded by her family and her home crowd. She acknowledged that her game is still a work in progress, that she is waiting for it to fully click. But the improvements, particularly on her forehand wing, were highly evident. This was a statement of intent. This was Coco Gauff saying, even when I am not at my absolute peak, even when I am tired and recovering, my baseline level is still high enough to destroy a top 15 player. That is a terrifying prospect for the rest of the tour. We must also reflect on the broader implications of these matches. For Alexandra Ela, this tournament, despite the harsh exit, is a massive stepping stone, defending her points from the previous year, securing a top 30 ranking, and experiencing the intensity of a second-week WTA 1000 match against a Grand Slam finalist are invaluable experiences. The feedback from legends like Brad Gilbert is not a criticism. It is a roadmap. If she can lock down a heavier, more reliable first serve and protect her second serve, her baseline game is already top tier. She heads into the clay court season, starting in Linz, with a clear understanding of what separates the good from the great. For Karolina Muchova, this was a stark reminder of the physical and mental toll required to compete against the absolute best. Her game is beautiful, but against an elite athlete like Gauff who can neutralize her variety, she needs a plan B, a way to generate easy points when her tactical web is broken. And for Coco Gauff, this is the ultimate validation. She is attempting to become only the second American in 3 years to win the Miami Open, following Danielle Collins. She is stepping into the final with immense confidence, a flawless head-to-head record against her semifinal opponent, and the overwhelming support of the Florida crowd. She has proven that she can weather the storm of early round battles and elevate her game to an untouchable level when the stakes are highest. And so, we arrive at the precipice of the championship. Coco Gauff has struck back. She has delivered the revenge to the younger generation. She has dismissed the ghost of fatigue, and she has firmly planted her flag in the Miami hard courts. But the final hurdle is the most daunting of all. Waiting for her in the championship match will be either the world number 1 and defending champion Aryna Sabalenka, or the formidable world number 3, Elena Rybakina. If it is Sabalenka, we are looking at a blockbuster rematch of the U.S. Open final, a clash of absolute titans. Sabalenka brings overwhelming, bone-crushing power that will test Gauff's incredible defensive skills to the absolute limit. If it is Rybakina, Gauff faces one of the greatest servers in the history of the women's game, a player who plays with ice in her veins and unmatched precision. Gauff herself stated, "I am going out there with the belief that I can win." That belief is not unfounded. It is forged in the fire of grueling 3-setters. It is hardened by the pain of past defeats, and it is validated by the absolute clinic she just put on against Karolina Muchova. This tournament has been a roller coaster of emotions. We have celebrated the rise of new stars like Alexandra Ela. We have analyzed the tactical brilliance of veterans, and we have witnessed the sheer dominance of a homegrown hero. The Miami Open 2026 has given us a narrative that transcends the sport, a story of struggle, adaptation, and ultimate triumph. Coco Gauff has done the unthinkable. She has made it look easy. She has given the fans the rooms back they were craving, and she now stands just one match away from lifting one of the most prestigious trophies in the sport. As we wrap up this extensive coverage, I want to thank you all for joining me on this incredible deep dive. The tactical nuances, the mental fortitude, the sheer athleticism. This is why we love this sport. The stage is set for an epic conclusion to the Miami Open. Will Coco Gauff complete her hero's journey and claim the title on home soil, or will the powerhouses of Sabalenka or Rybakina stand in her way? One thing is absolutely certain. The whole world will be watching. Would you like me to provide a detailed statistical breakdown of Coco Gauff's potential matchup against either Aryna Sabalenka or Elena Rybakina for the final?